Down the back straight now, they're flying. 1, 2, 3, locked into battle for glory. Coming off the final turn, it's anyone's race, and it's a drag race to the line. Oh, it's going to be tight. Yes, what a finish!
There's like tons of unfinished business.
The atmosphere is so fun there.
The physical side and the mental side.
The Sunday Shakeout, the podcast for all things high school and collegiate distance running. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Sunday Shakeout. I am your host, Nicholas, and you just saw in the intro, really cool stuff we got going on. I'm leveling up the video podcast this summer, so super excited for what I have going on today. I got Tayshaun Ogomo on the podcast from Herriman High School in Utah. Honestly, Tayshaun is one of the most versatile athletes I think I've had on the show recently. You know, we talk all about Owen Powell and how he's ran 147 for 800. He's ran 356. He has the Woodbridge course record, all these amazing things. But, you know, Tayshaun, I would say, is also up there in terms of versatility on the high school scene. He's ran at altitude 149.4, which converted is 148.8 for 800. He's ran 13:57 for 3 mile at Woodbridge and 14:44 for 5K cross country. So, you know, being an 800 guy and running 14:44 is pretty impressive. So really cool stuff for Tayshaun. And not only that, he just recently broke the 4x8 national record at the New Balance Outdoor Nationals with his Herriman squad. He's also an NXN 2023 team champion with Herriman, the 800 Utah state record holder, and an indoor-outdoor DMR National champion. And, you know, one of the things that struck me today about my conversation with Tayshaun was really how much of an emphasis, you know, there was on Doug Souls and just the team dynamic at Herriman. You know, we talk all about, you know, how it's really good to get individual glory. And, you know, we see all these athletes go D1 and it's really hard to get to that level. But there's also an aspect to high school running where it's like, you're sometimes trying to sacrifice individual success for the team success. And I think that sometimes team success often means more than the individual. You know, Tayshaun and his Herriman squad after NXN 2024, they were really disappointed. You know, going in, they won their state, they won their NXR, but they lost to Niwot and American Fork, two teams that they beat at NXR. So it was really interesting hearing Tayshaun's takes on what that was like. You know, they were the defending champs from 2023, and to get that loss was really, really impactful for them. But then to come back to win the DMR indoors at New Balance, and then to come back and win the 4x8, you know, set a national record, him being a state champ now and all these things, like it was really interesting to hear and go into the mindset of Tayshaun and, you know, what it's like to endure a really cold and just grindy winter in Utah, because that's really what it is over there at Herriman. One final note before we get into my conversation with Tayshaun today is that please, if you haven't already and you're enjoying the Sunday Shakeout, I would really appreciate a follow and a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever other platform you were listening on, because let me tell you, that goes a long way in supporting the growth of the Sunday Shakeout and what I'm all about this summer. You know, you saw in the intro, the fancy intro that I made, I'm trying to level up my video podcast this summer, and I'm trying to make the best video podcast in the sport of running. So if you're in support of that mission and you want to see more of that, then all I ask is that you leave a follow and a 5-star review. But other than that, as always, sit back, relax, and enjoy my conversation with the one and only Mr. Tayshaun Ogomo. Tayshaun Ogomo, welcome to the Sunday Shakeout. And just to start off our conversation, you know, Herriman, New Balance Nationals, 4x8, champions, new national record. And to be able to call yourself a 2-time national champ and, you know, put your name in the record books in high school, like, what's that like for you?
It's something I always dreamed of, was just winning one national title, let alone two. So having that under my belt is just surreal, honestly.
Yeah, going into New Balance, I know you were coming off of Festival of Miles where you probably wanted a little bit more. So, man, to be able to bounce back, like break a 14-year-old record, 7:26. I read that like the meet director of New Balance was talking about how like 7:26 for a 4x8 is like good for a collegiate team, let alone a group of high schoolers. So like, were y'all thinking about the record going in, or was it just about winning the race?
We have been trying to chase that record since February. We've had one other attempt at it out at Mount Sac Relays back a couple months ago. And there we had a few things happen. We had one of our guys fall. So, you know, we just wanted to come out and try again, give it one last final shot. And, you know, we knew we were capable of it, but still 7:26 is so fast. Jonah's always really good at competing. You know, he's never really had a great, what he's fully capable 800 race. but we knew that if we let off with him, he would be able to just put us in contention and keep us racing. And as long as we were in the race or trying to lead the race, we knew it would be a good day. So we let him go out, and he did that perfectly. We thought he executed amazingly. 154 to open up. Might not have been leading, but it was exactly what we needed to happen.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive kind of seeing how it was very methodical, really solid opening leg. And then Micah kind of got you guys in the race, a little fading like the last 100. But at this point, you're the next leg. So when Micah's up, do the nerves kind of increase at that point in a 4x8 when you're the third leg?
So yeah, they kind of do. Like I get nervous on the line where I wait for him to come in, and just seeing him come down the home stretch is kind of a scary sight because I know I got to do what he just did. But I think in that race it was totally different. I was nervous before I got on the line, but once I got put up on the line and I was waiting for him to come in, all the nerves were gone, and it was just like I have to go make up this ground. And I knew Rockhurst was on me, not meet record, national record pace, so I knew that if I was able to catch up, then we would also be on national record pace. And, coming off my state race when I went under 150 for the first time, I know I had it in me. I just had to really go for it.
Yeah, talk me through that third leg, because you made that crazy overtake for the lead. I think you came in, you guys were like fifth or maybe even further back. So how did you manage to kind of make up that ground? But I think that maybe people will sleep on you because of Hoka or whatever, but you're still one of the solid guys at Herriman. Herriman isn't just a team of good runners, it's a team of like great runners. So what do you think your leg says about you?
Yeah, no, I definitely think that leg shows just like a small bit of what I'm capable of. I think I'm capable of a lot. And to make up the ground like that, we were fifth coming into the handoff, and I got it. And I was just like, I got to go. I got to catch up. So it shows that, each one of us, especially me, is, with top level guys, not just a top level team. In order to have a top level team, you have to have a bunch of really good guys. So it just shows that we do have those guys.
What did that feel like to kind of finally get that validation for you guys?
It felt amazing, honestly, especially when I knew that my leg was one of the deciding factors in that race and us breaking the record. I felt really good because I felt like I had let my team down prior to that in several different races. So being able to come off that line and set them up perfectly, and all that had to happen was Jackson just to run his race. It felt amazing. And I've been chasing that record for last year with my team, and then this entire year. So to finally do something like that was just unreal.
For you, which one do you think meant more, winning NXN as a junior in 2023 or having this walk-off win as a senior as a team in the 4x8?
That one's hard, really hard, because the team my junior year was all the guys I'd grown up with. Like I'd known them all since my freshman year. So it's just an amazing experience to do that with them. But then this year, Jackson came in at the beginning of my senior year. So he's still pretty new to the team. But even though he's new, like doing this with him and the Tang twins, I think that's pretty special. So honestly, I got to say ending off the season with the national record is definitely the top experience.
Yeah, and it's got to be sweeter, especially because, we mentioned earlier how you guys were coming off, a disappointment at NXN. Mount Sac probably wasn't what you wanted again. You finished third place at NXN last fall. How much did those races fuel the fire? And without them, do you think your squad would have the same motivation and, I guess, fire that was big enough to do something as special as this?
I think we would have had a lot of fire, but I think we would have fallen just short. Everything happens for a reason in my mind. So after NXN, we realized we never wanted to lose like that again. Like we don't want to lose. It hurts to lose a lot. So we came back and we just decided we're going to dominate this track season. And we were dominating. And then we hit Mount Sac relays, and I got out kicked in the last 100. And I realized that I never want to get out kicked like that again. So it pushed me to just train harder and work harder and race harder to the point where something like this could happen.
I'd like to rewind a little bit about NXN 2023. We won't go into that race, but I have a couple questions about, that race for you. I believe Coach Souls started coaching Herriman in 2022, I believe, right? Your sophomore year?
It was my freshman track season.
Freshman track season. Okay. Freshman track season. You're freshman at the time. Freshman cross, I believe. You guys weren't even like at NXN. Yeah, you guys didn't even get close. Did you guys even win state that year?
No, my freshman cross season, we barely even made it to state. In our state, you have 2 divisional races and 8 or 9 teams. I don't remember exactly which one it was that year, but 8 or 9 teams make it to the state meet. And my freshman year, we were the last team to make it in.
Dang. Yeah. So going from barely making state, Coach Souls came in. You guys, I believe, finished like 3rd at NXN the following year. So, and then the next year being national champs. So that on its own is fascinating. So going from irrelevant as a freshman team to being national champions as a junior, for your career, what was that like? Because that's a huge transformation, one that I guess not many teams go through.
No, not many teams at all. It was really crazy for me, honestly, because that year I was solid as a freshman, but our team wasn't that good. So I was on varsity that year, but it was just like we were messing around, we were just having fun. And then Souls came in the next year and he showed us what was truly possible. So to be able to go from one of the worst teams in the state to the best team in the nation was just something that nobody really saw until Souls came in and showed us that he believed in us.
What were some of the shifts that happened either mentally, maybe it was in the training that Coach Souls instilled in you guys?
Yeah, mentally, we went from believing that all these other teams in the state of Utah were amazing and they were on a different level from us to believing that we were on a different level from them and we truly were the best team out there. It was really just a belief in ourselves and in our training and the level we could compete at.
And did that transformation happen overnight? Was it like Coach Souls came in and all of a sudden you guys are motivated? Or did it take some time for you guys to really believe in the program and the process?
It happened differently with some people. There were some of us who, like, the second he came in, it was, we want to do something big. Because that first day he showed up, he told us that we were going to win nationals within a couple years. He said, we're going to go after it. We're going to win nationals. We're going to be the best team there is. So some of us were like, this is going to happen. And then a couple other guys who graduated that next year when we took 3rd, it took a little bit longer for the ball to get rolling with them. But I mean, after that track season, my freshman year, everybody realized because we went from barely competing still to, I think we broke every school record that we had that year on the distance side.
Dang, that's crazy. How much of that do you think was talent versus hard work? Because I think there's the type of talent where you have talent, but you just don't like work for it. So the talent never gets to really show. But to go from 9th at state or whatever to 3rd at NXN, I feel like there's got to be a little bit of talent there. So how would you assess the talent versus hard work factor?
I think at Herriman, we had a bunch of untapped talent, honestly, because we had Noah Jenkins. He was a senior my sophomore year. He's running at BYU right now, but he was just super talented and he also worked hard and he showed us to work hard too. But once we started working hard, it showed, a lot of us are more talented than we thought. You can't really run 151 in the 800 like Micah did without some sort of talent and some sort of hard work.
You had a heavy team with seniors that year, but you were a junior. So, if you're a senior, it's good. You kind of get that walk-off national title. But when you're a junior, it's like you got to come back the next year and the pressure's even higher to defend your title. So after winning NXN your junior year, you made that huge jump when Coach Souls was there. Talk me through that mindset because, like I said, it's not like the pressure is, there's less of it. I bet there's, a crazy amount of pressure now going back to back. So talk me through what it was like winning that national title as a junior and then having that pressure to do it again.
Winning was amazing. We went out there and we had lost our NXR meet and our state meet prior to that. The only 2 losses we took that season. So the pressure was off of us going into nationals, and we really just could like go and show what we're capable of. And, it went well. We won. But then coming back the year prior, we like to say that we strive under pressure for the most part. Doesn't always happen like that. But coming back, there was a lot of pressure to perform, and I feel like we dealt with it and we handled it pretty well coming up all through the season. We won every race minus NXN, can't win them all sometimes. Took third there. Still a great season. But there's definitely a lot of pressure of coming back and showing we're the best.
Do you personally like having that pressure on your shoulders? Is that something you like?
At first, I would crack under pressure. I get really nervous. But as we go on, I've come to enjoy the pressure when it comes to racing racing as a team. When I have pressure on me in individual moments, I don't always like it. I like just being relaxed and just being able to do what I need to do and not have the pressure. But when it comes down to racing for my teammates, the pressure's on. I feel like I can deliver.
Is there something about Utah that makes Herriman really special for you guys? Because, you guys got the grindy winters, where it's like just really cold, the mountains and really everything, the altitude, obviously. Utah's a really special place for distance running. Do you think that plays into a factor in how successful you guys are? Because, there's that saying, like, you grow stronger as a team through struggle. Being able to kind of go through the winters, I think Coach Souls got on like the running effect after he won. And it was like, yeah, you guys wake up at like 5 or 6 a.m. for morning practice. So talk about that team culture you guys have there at Herriman and how it's been developing. And do you agree that through struggle, you guys have grown closer?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with that. I mean, like Souls said, and you mentioned, we get up early in the morning. Nothing too crazy though, but going through Utah in the winter can get pretty rough. I mean, nothing like some of these other states, but you can go one day from being 80 degrees outside to the next day you're in 3 different layers because it got so cold. So it just really, it's a really hard environment to always try to get good training in. So being able to push through that and just make sure we get our stuff done makes it a lot easier in races because we're prepared for whatever happens, wind, shine, rain, whatever happens, like we've trained in it all.
Interesting. What's the hardest place to run in Utah? Is it a mountain or like down in Herriman? Like, do you guys have like a run where there be like a long run or something that you guys go to and that's just like always kicks your butt? Or what do you think is like the hardest run in Utah?
Me personally, we have this run because where Herriman is, we are in the Salt Lake Valley, but we're on the edge of the Salt Lake Valley. So probably 5 or 6 miles from my house is just the mountains. And we have this long run route. It's only 10 miles, but it's a real pain. We do it. We've done it the past 3 years right before NXN, funny enough. But it's called Bacchus, and you go up the road. We live by a copper mine. So you go up the road to the copper mine, and it doesn't look too bad, but it's just a steady uphill climb for a solid 4 to 5 miles, 10-mile loop, and it's just a rough run.
Dang, that's tough. Do you think that builds a sense of mental toughness for you guys?
Oh yeah, definitely. It builds toughness because, if we don't really have any easy runs, our easy runs are still, they're either hilly or it's hot out or something's just going on. So it's really hard to get in a true easy run. So it's like, we have to deal with a lot of roughness and toughness to go out and get a run in. So it makes us stronger, I believe.
After NXN this past year for you guys, I believe you guys won state going into it. You guys won NXR, but you guys lost the 2 teams that you beat at NXR. You mentioned kind of just you win some, you lose some, but it had to have meant a little bit more to you because it was your senior year and things didn't go your way. And then the day after you announced on, Instagram, you were committed to Utah State. So how much of that, phase, that weekend for you is kind of turning a chapter, turning the pages in your life? And yeah, what was that weekend like for you? Was that a huge weekend overall?
Yeah, that weekend was kind of madness to me because I I didn't announce my commitment until after nationals, which I debated doing that. After that loss at NXN, I really didn't want to do that. I wanted to wait a bit longer, but I actually signed the week before we left, so I had it all in writing. That week was really busy for me because I was going back and forth between a couple colleges. And then we went out there and, it being my senior year, it was really disappointing, especially since we had that win junior year. And to me, it felt like I was a make or break factor in that race. I had a really bad race at NXN this year. And it just felt like if I had changed that, we would have won. But, that didn't happen. What's in the past is in the past. So that weekend was just madness. And to come off of that, it was a bit rough and everything that was going on. But I felt like even with how hurtful it was, it inspired me and motivated me to push harder all track season.
Yeah, that must have been a little bit rough, especially knowing like you probably weren't, the blame wasn't put on you, but in your head, you're like, man, if I would have done better, we maybe could have won. How did you not fall into the mental trap of like beating yourself up and kind of getting down to the dumps? Because I think a lot of seniors, they could have just folded and then be like, that's it. I'm going to kind of just, you know, not even try my track season. Obviously, you were kind of committed to Utah State, so you kind of had to keep grinding. But I think a lot of seniors would have mentally just given up if they would have, had that sort of thing happen at NXN. So how did you mentally bounce back over the winter?
Over the winter, I gave myself, I think it was like not even a full day. It was a day or less of just like being down on myself and being upset. But after that, I told myself, it already happened. I can't go back and change it. So I might as well just keep moving forward and being happy about everything that I have been given and that I can achieve. And then on top of that, I had big goals for the track season. Like no matter what happened, I was coming off my junior year. I took 5th in state in the 800. So I was coming off trying to chase the sub 150. And I was like, I can't sit here and be down on myself. I got things to take care of and I got stuff to do. So I got to bounce back and keep running.
Yeah. I think trusting what you're doing, just trusting that you had better on the day is really, really important. That way you guys didn't get down in the dumps. And I think you guys didn't. You came back, you won, the DMR New Balance indoors. How significant was that race for you guys? Kind of getting to prove that Herriman still the top dog to beat. Like, what was that DMR like? And did it feel like pressure was on or off since NXN for you guys?
After NXN, it felt like the pressure was off of us. It felt like everybody had wrote us off. We were no longer the team to beat. So going out to indoor, it was a really big moment to be able to come out and show we had a bad race at NXN and we still are the team to beat. Like our bad races can be other people's good races, and just going out and showing that, you got to try to beat us. Like we're not racing you, you're racing us sort of thing. It was really defining and it was really good for us, especially since we didn't bring our full A team and we were able to go and get something like that done.
Would you say, I think I might know the answer to this question, just kind of based on hearing what you said so far, but would you say winning the DMR was more of an internal validation thing or an external validation thing for you guys? Like how much of it was, winning and proving to yourselves within the team that you guys are still the best, and how much of it was kind of proving to the world?
Most of it was internal. Actually, most of it, yeah, internal. Because we were still pretty down, but we had done a really good job of lifting each other up and we knew we were capable of. And then honestly, it was like a 60-40 split and the rest was external. And it was like showing everybody that we still were the top dogs and we were people you wanted to compete against.
Yeah, people you want to fear on the line. Yeah, type thing. So you won the DMR. Then as outdoor started, a couple big invites. I'd argue the biggest for you was Mount Sac. Let's talk a little bit about that. Obviously, we mentioned that earlier. A bit disappointing in the 4x8 to finish second. Obviously not what you wanted. You guys wanted the win. You guys said you were chasing the national record like you were at Mount Sac. But then you came back and won the 800. I think it was like a day later. 151
next morning.
Next morning. Yeah. 151 at altitude, I believe. crazy stuff for you, big win. So overall, given those two races, how do you kind of assess Mount Sac? And at the time, what did you take from that moving into the rest of the season?
Honestly, my season leading up to that was just, it was good. The DMR was great, but I hadn't had some good individual races. I hadn't ran as fast as I wanted to. So going into Mount Sac, getting out caked at that time, I had split 151.8, and that was faster than my current PR. So I was like, hey, this sucks. I got out kicked, but I'm on the right track. I'm moving forward. And then to come back the next morning and win that 800 out kicking Obando. He's a great dude. He's a really fast runner, but just coming into there and proving to myself yet again that I do belong. And I'm one of those guys who you want to try to beat. And I'm one of the top 800 runners in the nation. That was really big for me. It gave me a lot of validation, and it showed us as a team that I can pick up and carry some of the load. And then we came back later that night again and we ran the DMR, and I don't remember exactly what the time was, but we came away with the win up there again with Jackson Spencer having a crazy kick. So just all that together, all those races adding up was just huge for us.
It's crazy how like winning changes everything. If you can kind of have a bad race and the next day come back and get two wins, like winning changes the entire attitude and the entire landscape of things. Would you agree? Do you think that's the case in track and field and like the mental side of things and momentum? Like winning is the cure for everything?
Yeah, I definitely feel like winning can help a lot. Even, I've tried to look away from winning recently, like just be happy with the performance, find something that was a win in my mind, even if I didn't actually win. But definitely when you get a big win, it means a lot.
And to get that big win for you individually at Mount Sac in that 800, you've been in the spotlight as a team before, but to be in the spotlight individually, how much did that, mean to you? And did it feel any different to finally be in the spotlight as a senior and win a race individually, a huge race in Mount Sac? Did it feel any different or was it relatively similar?
Oh no, it felt really different, honestly, because I've always been competing at that top level individually, but I've never been winning or doing anything like that. So to go out there and race and take a win like that, it gave me so much confidence leading into the rest of the season. And honestly, that's a race that I credit that Mount Sac 800. I credit my 148 split and my 149 open 800 too, just because because of that race, I learned how to race the 800 again.
Interesting. I talked to Cooper Lutkenhouse, that freak of human nature, and he said, being an 800 guy, he thinks cross country is pretty important. Now, I love Coop, but his 5K isn't really amazing. But, you ran 14:44 while having a converted like 148. So I'm curious, how do you have that strength and speed? And is there a transition you make, in the winter and early track season? You kind of mentioned how, this is the first few invites were kind of just knocking the rust off. So to be able to run 14:44 and then come back and, run 148 in track season, how do you make that transition?
In cross country, we do just a lot of pure strength workouts. We do a lot of strength training, and that gets us prepped and ready for cross. And then over the winter, we start to move down. We keep the mileage high. I'm kind of 50-50 on I run the 800 strength wise and speed wise. So we just do a lot of strength training. And then when we hit track season, I alternate over to speed work because I already have a lot of that strength build up. And over the winter, we continue building the strength work. So then I'm able to switch over to speed and just sharp tune everything.
What's the hardest workout you did leading up to the state meet? Like tuning up where you ran 149.4, set the state record. What was the workout leading up?
I don't exactly remember the workout leading up. I think it was like a week or two prior. We did 300 repeats. And when 300 repeats it used to be more of a staple workout for us, but lately this year it hasn't. But this time we did 7x300, and in between our 300 meter repeats, instead of standing rest, we do core work. And that was probably the hardest workout we did leading up.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I guess it kind of differs, coach to coach, athlete to athlete, what works, but it must have worked going into state. And, I'm curious, how confident were you? Because you had an up and down season, but you got that validation at Mount Sac. But there's this also your last shot in the state of Utah to make your mark. So how were you feeling going in? And were you more nervous than NXN or some of these other invites because it's your last state meet, or less, or how were you feeling?
Yeah, honestly, coming into that race, I was nervous, but I would honestly say I wasn't as nervous as all the other races. I'm kind of weird when I race. I'll have one good race sometimes, and then I'll come back and I have a bad race. Or I'll have a bad race and then I'll come back and have a good race. So it was kind of odd coming into that. But I had raced the 800 about a week and a half prior, and I just locked up. I ran 155, I think. So it wasn't the best thing. But coming into that race, I had taken everything that went wrong in my previous 800 when I ran 155, and I had focused in on that, made sure that I could correct it. And I was racing one of my friends, actually. Me and him have been racing together since the 6th grade. So I wasn't too nervous just because, I know him. I know him as a runner. It's just me and him going at it yet again. We were the number 1-2 returners in the state coming into this year in the 800. So just standing on the line, I had a sense of confidence in myself and familiarity, honestly.
I read a book. It's about mindset. It's called Relentless. It's written by the trainer of Kobe and Jordan. And he kind of talked about how when you're in the zone, you're not really thinking too much. You're kind of just, competing based off of instincts. When you're on the line of a big meet, like the state meet or NXN or whatever, in your head, are you thinking? Are you thinking about, your 155 and how you're learning from that? Or at that point, is it just instinct and you're in the zone?
It's a mix of both. I mean, at the state meet, going to the line, it was just purely instinct. This is how I race. This is how I get it done. But then I had a moment about 400 meters into that race where everything just paused for me and I thought it through. Because at Mount Sac, when I won that 800, I made a hard, decisive move between 400 and 500 meters. And I just really gave it all and try to go early and just hurt down the entire backstretch. So at the state meet, at that same point around 400 meters, I was like, this is how I race the 800. This is when I'm going to go. So I made that move. And then from there on, it was just instinct again.
At what point did you know you won it for you?
Honestly, at state, it was with about 50 meters to go. We were coming down the home stretch. We were neck and neck. And I could see him out of the corner of my eye. He was just right there. I was like, oh, I see him out of the corner of my eye. I'm going to give one last push. And then all of a sudden, he disappeared from the corner of my eye. And I was like, this is my race. I just won.
What were the emotions like? It had to have been a little bit of relief because, you got it done and this was your last shot. You did it. Also, probably some excitement. But, to be in Utah, to be in one of the top running states in the entire nation, and to do what you guys did, to do what you did, what was that like for you? Walk-off win.
Oh, it was amazing. I've been thinking about that state record for a year. My junior year, we had some dudes attempt it. Zach Hillhouse and Noah from American Fork. They went after it. They fell short. I mean, they're fully capable of it. It just didn't happen in that race. So I'd been thinking about that for a year. That's all that had been on my mind, honestly. More than it should have been was just that state record and winning that state title. So as soon as I crossed that line and I broke the tape, I was like, the weight instantly just came off my shoulders. It was super relieving.
Yeah, for sure. And, it must be incredible to do that. Obviously, 1600 at state wasn't what you wanted. We don't have to get into that. Hoka, again, wasn't really what you wanted, but then New Balance, must have made up for all that stuff. Could you have scripted a better ending to your high school career, you think?
No, not at all. I wanted to perform well at every race, but it didn't happen. But to end it off with New Balance with a second place finish and then 2 national titles and the national record, nothing's really better than that one.
Yeah, it's incredible, really. And looking back to when you were a little kid, even a freshman, to look, if you could, as a freshman, see what you're doing now, state championing, in track, the 800, two-time national champ, state record holder, national record holder, like, is this how you wanted it to be in the sport, or was distance running not really your first love in terms of sports?
No, distance running wasn't at all. I didn't start running until 6th grade, and I didn't start caring about running really until my freshman track season when Souls showed up. Until then, I was all in. I wanted to play baseball, actually. I was a really big baseball kid. But once I had bought in, I never would have imagined I would have made it this far.
What made you bought in? You said Souls. Was there something he said to you, or like a mindset shift you had? Because, I also used to play baseball, and to be honest, I wasn't a huge fan, just because, like, you could hit a fly ball the right fielder, and it's just like, he just drops it, bro. Like, come on, catch the ball. But what made that transition for you mentally to kind of buy into the sport of running fully?
Honestly, it was when Souls showed up. I wasn't at the first day of track practice. I was at baseball tryouts for the high school team. And when I finished tryouts, I went back and I talked to my teammate at the time, Noah Jenkins, and he's like, "Hey Tay, we got a new coach. He's looking for you." I was like, "Why is he looking for me? Like, I'm not special." And he came and talked to me. He's like, "You're gonna be special. You're gonna do great things." So after that moment, I was like, if this new coach comes in and he already knows who I am and he's already believing in me, then I gotta be worth something.
Dang, yeah, that must have been incredible, just right off the bat, to know that a coach believes in you. Have you ever had that happen, like, prior in your life, or is that the first time you think? Is that why it was so transformational? Like, was that the first time that someone really believed in your talent? Like, whether that be in baseball or running?
It wasn't the first time, but it was definitely different from all the other times. When I first came to Herriman Cross Country, the coach at the time, Maddie Dixon and Jonathan Haig, they both had believed in me, especially Maddie. He had a big belief in me being special. But at that time, I was still 50-50 on if I wanted to run or not. So it was like, I don't know. And then when Souls came, it was a whole nother level. He was just like, you really are going to be amazing. He had more belief in me than really anybody else. So seeing that happen, I was just like, well, I got to do it now.
Dang, yeah, that's pretty incredible. I think now I kind of know the secret to how Doug Souls makes his teams good. It's because, people always saying, like, oh, what's the workout you guys do to get better? Like, how do you guys win national title 2 years after barely making state? Like, are there truly secrets to what Doug Souls and, you guys at Herriman put together, or is it just that hard work and dedication and that belief?
I wouldn't say there's really any secrets. Everything that we do, Souls has online in a book somewhere. Everybody knows what we do. So I really think I called it there for a little bit, the Souls factor. It's just that belief in us that we can do big things. When I first started running, I didn't believe in myself to run much faster at all, honestly. Like, I thought I could maybe go a second or two faster, shave off PRs little at a time. But then he taught me to believe in myself. And coming into this track season, my goal was to go 147. I was coming off with the 152 PR, and I had a huge goal of 147. And he just continued to, help me believe in myself. And, I didn't hit the 147, but I ran 148. So that's pretty close.
Yeah, you got to be happy with that, especially all that you've accomplished. And the question, being at altitude, we see all these guys at sea level run such fast times. Do you get a little, flustered when you see, like, on Instagram or whatever, like, so-and-so ran 147 at the state meet? It's like, dude, I ran like equivalent to that, or around equivalent to that, 148. Like, is there like an altitude mindset thing where you're like, man, I just wish I was at sea level to run these fast times, or do you just not have an opinion?
Yeah, no, I definitely, I wish I was at sea level sometimes. I'll drop a race and I know off the top of my head for the most part what the conversions are. And then I'll see somebody else drop a race down at sea level. I'm like, it's pretty equal. Me, myself, not everybody, but I believe in the conversions. for the most part. And it's just hard sometimes running a race up here. And it's like I ran, I think it was 4:13 at the state meet, which is equivalent to about a 4:09, 4:08. And it sucks because it's like it says 4:13, but the effort level was closer to that 4:00s.
Yeah. I think people have to take that into consideration for sure. And, people going through the athletic.net, oh, he only has 4:13 or 4:12 as your PR. Like, dude, like he's a stud. Like, just like look at the times and don't just like look at them for what they are. Like, truly see them. And, you love Utah enough clearly to be able to go to Utah State next year. What are you most looking forward to as you begin your collegiate career?
I'm just ready to see what I'm truly capable of, see what happens on college training. And then also next year, I get all my teammates back from the 2023 National Championship team. They're all coming to Utah State with me. And then the year after that, I get the Tang twins will come and join me at Utah State as well.
Dang. Okay. Interesting. Do you think that Utah State can give BYU a run for their money?
Definitely. What I've been saying recently is, we built a national championship team in high school out of a bunch of scrubs who weren't running fast. I think I had the fastest PR coming in when we were all freshmen and sophomores, and I was like a 17 flat dude. All the other guys were 19 minute guys. So we built it in high school. We can do it again in college. It's all the same people plus a few more. So all we got to do is have a good day and just work hard.
Let's go. That's an awesome mindset. Well, can't wait to see it. That'll be awesome. I think my man Michael Majorano also transferred, so he'll be there too. He's a stud. You guys got a great squad, and I'm super excited to see that. But to close off our conversation today, Tayshaun, I asked this question to all of my guests, but if there was one piece of advice you'd have to give yourself when you were just getting started in the sport, what do you think it would be?
I honestly think it would be, don't focus so hard on the wins and the losses. Just focus on improvement. Find a little win every day, every workout. Just find something to be happy about, and don't beat yourself up over it. Just keep working and enjoy yourself.
Yo, yeah, big time. I like that. I like that a lot. Well, thank you so much, Tayshaun, for coming on the Sunday Shakeout. Really fun time chatting with you. We had a little hiccup with the video thing. Too bad we didn't get that, but still, regardless, had a fun time chatting. And best of luck at Utah. Congrats again on the national title and everything. But yeah, keep it going, man.
Thank you so much for having me.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.